Hello and welcome to the Mctaggart Attack podcast. I'm Kevin Mctaggart, a stand-up comedian from Vermont, and my podcast is my way of giving my thoughts and opinions on whatever I feel like. Whatever I feel like doing, basically. And let's see, this episode is sparked by something I saw in the news on Friday evening, or on social media on Friday evening. And I think it's a good topic to bring up. I want to talk about free speech today in this episode of the Mctaggart Attack podcast. And I thought about talking about this in this episode because there used to be this show, this sports radio show in Boston. I say used to be. It just ended yesterday, Friday, July 12th, 2019. Right. And it was a couple years ago, it was Dennis and Callahan. Dennis quit. And then it was Kurt and Callahan. And then Kurt left, and now it was Mutt and Callahan. And yesterday, the radio station, the company that owns the radio station, decided to do away with Mutt and Callahan. They let go of Jerry Callahan. He's gone. He'd been there for 23 years. And they're moving Mutt to Mike Mutnatsky is his name. And moving him to evenings for his career to die. And the show was controversial, I suppose. They were very. They were a sports show, but they talked about politics with a very conservative slide to it, and it was a type of show, regardless of who the hosts were, where you either loved the show or you hated the show. If you hated the show, you still listened. If you loved it, you still listened. And they were essentially number one in the ratings for a while, for a long time. They dominated the ratings in sports radio in Boston in the mornings. But the show's being replaced by this other guy. But that's not really what this episode is about. But from what I can tell as to why they were let go, it has to do with free speech. Or it has to do with, I guess it's free speech is what I'm trying to talk about here. Because there were some writers for the Boston Globe who complained to advertisers of these shows, and when the advertisers leave, the show isn't going to, make much money for you if there are no advertisers. If the advertisers are getting flack, there's going to be no show. And that's what bothers me about this. It's like, if they have a show that people seem to enjoy or hate, but still watch it, if they have a popular show that everyone listens to, for whatever reason, then they should be allowed to keep doing their show. If you don't like a show for whatever reason, for that reason. You know, say, I know that from my perspective, There are plenty of shows out there I could fucking care less about. I don't watch Fox News. I don't watch anything conservative. I follow a few conservative accounts on Twitter and read them. And there are some that I just won't read. Like, I think James Woods had a Twitter account. And his Twitter, he's been blocked from Twitter now because of his tweets, which is fucking ridiculous. And I remember, like, when the WWE had their Attitude Era, and they were sexing up the show, and people were furious about it. You know? But the ratings were great. People watched. But people didn't like it. And I remember what Vince McMahon said back then in reference to that. Like, if you don't like the show, don't watch the show. Turn it off. And that's basically what I'm trying to say here. Like, if you don't like a radio show, if you think a radio show is offensive, stop listening to it. Pay no attention to it. Don't, like, go to the... Don't hate a show. I hope I never hate a show so much that I want to go to the advertisers and harass them into canceling the show. You know, because that's just a bullshit thing to do. Because that's what happened. There was a writer for the Boston Globe, Bob Mutchinson or something like that. I don't even fucking know. I haven't looked that much into it. Like I do, because I don't look into much things on my McTaggart Attack podcast, in case you're not aware. But it's just so frustrating to me. Like, we can all say whatever the fuck we want. If you don't like it, then don't listen to us. If you don't like what I tweet, unfollow me on Twitter. Don't try to get me banned on Twitter if you don't like what I have to say. You know, that's what I feel like a culture that we're growing into or have become. Like, oh, I don't like what you have to say, so I'm going to try to get your show taken off the air. Or I'm going to try to get your Twitter account banned. Or something like that. It's just so fucking stupid. Just turn off the show or unfollow the account. Don't be a total dickhead and try to cancel, you know, the show. Don't try to get the show canceled. That's a fucking bullshit thing. I don't like Jerry Callahan. But I think the way he was treated was total fucking bullshit. If the ratings are good, then keep the show on. But from what I understand, the ratings weren't good once they got the new host in. But that's the thing, though. That's how they got rid of Kurt Minahan, was because, you know, that writer Mutchinson, you know, harassed the advertisers. But the show was doing great in the ratings. But once Kurt Minahan left, the ratings did worse. And then they got rid of the show. But it's bullshit. It's so fucking bullshit. So it eventually worked. I mean, they have every right. I should say, you have every right to complain, to try to want to get a show canceled. But I think it's just ridiculous that people try to do that. You shouldn't get a show. If you don't like a show, stop watching it. You know, that's how you hurt them, by not watching it. If you hate a show so much yet still watch the show, I think you still like the show, if you're still watching it. It's just so stupid and ridiculous that we live in a world now where this happens. We're like, oh, I hate this show, let's get it taken off the air. Like, I'm a Democrat, okay? But these liberal, progressive people who profess free speech, and everybody be treated equally, I think there's an asterisk there when they fucking say that. I think, oh, everybody should be able to say whatever they want, blah, 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 and let's all love each other, blah, 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 unless I disagree with you. Unless you say something that I disagree with, then I want you out. I want your career done. I want your show canceled. It's so fucking stupid. It's so stupid that that's what that is. Oh, go ahead and have free speech, just as long as I agree with it. It's just dumb. Like, I posted that on Twitter. What did I post on Twitter? Let me look at Twitter. By the way, follow me on Twitter, at Kev Mct. Okay? Thank you. And, like, I posted on Twitter, I said, free speech should not have exceptions. And I'm right. You can have free speech. Oh, but you can't say anything that offends me. Oh, you can't say anything that I disagree with. Go ahead and say whatever you want, as long as I like it. Well, if you don't like what I have to say, don't listen to me. Don't be my friend. Someone did reply to this tweet with, well, how about yelling fire in a theater? Well, that's a different type of free speech. That's just being a jackass. That's just pulling a prank. That's different from free speech. I mean, that is free speech, saying whatever the fuck you want. That is an exception, I guess. I say there's no exceptions, but of course there are exceptions like that. There are exceptions like, like if you're at work, you can't say whatever you want at work because you're paid to work there and they have codes of conduct that you must follow. But if you don't have codes of conduct or rules or anything like that to follow, then there should be free speech. But I guess there are exceptions. I'm saying that there should not be exceptions when it's simply because you don't like what the other person has to say. It's just, unless they say that they, unless they threaten you or something like that, then if someone threatens you, then of course that's another exception. I say there's no exceptions, but of course there are exceptions. But I mean, I just feel like the level of exceptions, the list of exceptions are way too long. And it's just like, I'm just talking about, if you don't like a show or what someone says or whatever, if you just don't like to hear it because it makes you feel uncomfortable, then don't listen. Don't watch. Don't be that person's friend. Tell them that it offends you. Sure, maybe they'll change their ways. If they don't, and they don't want to, then you need to find new friends. It's just ridiculous to me that this happens, and then that, like, more and more people just get offended. And it's like, oh, I'm offended. I find this language offensive. Then don't fucking pay attention to it, you dumb cunt. It's just so goddamn irritating with like people praising, the same people who praise free speech immediately have a shitload of exceptions as to what you can actually say and not say. The same people who the liberal progressive people who say that we should have free speech and say whatever we want, and because this is America, the land of the free, and we should be able to say whatever we want, also don't think you should say anything that hurts their feelings. Like, People hate Trump's tweets. I hate Trump's tweets. Do I want Donald Trump banned from Twitter? No. Because you know what they'll do next? Ban me. Or you. The bannings will just keep going, and everyone will get fucking banned, and no one will be able to say anything anymore. If they just keep, canceling all these shows because people don't like them, or they're offended, or people go to the goddamn, advertisers and get these shows fucking removed because they simply don't like the fucking show. It's just so goddamn motherfucking ridiculous, and it's a goddamn problem, and we just need to get our head out of our asses and just change the fucking channel. Alright, I think that's all I've got for this episode of the Mctaggart Attack podcast, because I do a few different episodes each week. If you want to reach me, the email address is mctaggartattack@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter @KevMcT, that's KEVMCT, or the first 3 letters of my first name and the first 3 letters of my last name. I also have a Facebook page for the Mctaggart Attack podcast that you can find. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mctaggart Attack podcast. And that's the bottom line if you smell what the Mctaggart Attack podcast is cooking.